Hey guys, this is Kai from WCC, and today we're going to look at a standard deck that I've been playing around recently, and it is pure Deletors. Now, why are we still talking about Deletors? Why don't we talk about the new deck that is so good, so cool? Everyone's been turning their head and going, wow, is that Messiah's? And that is because this deck, this Deletor deck, is actually pretty decent in the current metagame. So let's talk about the metagame right now. What is the metagame? Well, the metagame is pretty much just Bermuda Triangle for standard. Like, ever since Bermuda Triangle got released, they've just been dominating the format. And now with Force 2's release, they've been dominating the format even more. So if that's the deck to beat, what other decks were there to beat? So before those Kagero, and then after Force 2, there is kind of Kagero. There's like, they got the End, and that kind of not really buffed it. It's okay, but it's not that amazing, in my opinion. They got Blade Master that can Master Tire. That's a pretty good deck. I think that's pretty good. Good against Bermuda. And then there's just other decks floating around. You've got Novas. They recently got buffed. For some reason, I see a lot of Gold Paladins in my meta. So they're probably just cashing in on Excel 2 being really good. So yeah, that's pretty much the metagame. You're expecting a lot of Bermudas. There's going to be Messiah decks out there as well, because that's the new cool. There's no Protect decks. OTT is kind of non-existent until Aerial Steed Liberation. So when that comes, then we have to be more wary about them. But the two top Protect decks from before, Angel Feather and OTT, they're not really a major player in the metagame at all. So if your metagame is just full of OTT and Angel Feather for some reason, you can just stop the video right now. You probably don't want to play this deck, or just tune in at the end when we talk about the giveaway. But if your metagame is the same as everyone else's, where there's a lot of Bermudas dominating, or there's going to be just a lot of Force clans and Excel clans being played, then stick around. Maybe you might want to take a look at this deck. So I'll get to the deck profile. We'll talk about all the stuff I run it first, and then we'll talk about how it plays. So first up, triggers, 7 crit, 5 draw. You can bump it up to 8 crit, 4 draw in my opinion. I just like playing the extra draw. Starter is Lurley. I just think Lurley is the best starter for Link Joker at the moment, because you can think your opponent can think you're playing Brand. That's it. Not really much of a big deal. So the biggest buff that Deletors got was Destiny Dealer. This card just pluses you for free when you ride it. But unlike the Messiah deck, which is very reliant on Soul, your deck is not reliant on Soul. So even if you draw 1 later on, like when you draw at grade 2, if you don't ride it, or you just want to play it out for free, you can spam this effect until your field is full to make an early game aggression. Very nice in this deck. Soul Blasting does not matter. This deck is not limited by Soul. The Drown, another staple. This is your only countercharge card, but it binds stuff, so very nice. Jet Shaft from before, this is your one out against every single Excel clan in the metagame and Bermuda. So when you have this, Bermuda cannot drop their Finas. If they do, they can expect their front field to be removed next turn. Or if they put up non-melody units in the front row, just like normal grade 2s or even grade 1s, those things are so irrelevant, you don't have to worry about. This card alone just, wins lots of matchups for you. The new card, Duskblade, that's kind of nice. That's okay. It's just an extra removal. Allows you to draw when you're at grade 3. Just extra pressure. This deck is all about pressure. The other new card we got was Blast Monk of the Thundering Foot for grade 2. Really nice as well. It's removal. Basically, every single grade 2 is either removal or advantage or both. The second effect, in my opinion, where it gains Soul when you bind a grade 2 or higher unit, doesn't matter for this deck, because I've said before, the Soul doesn't matter. Vex, really nice. You're running 4. It makes your opponent, just the pressure that your opponent has to guard with a trigger is really nice for this deck. It means against like Bermuda, they can't just intercept with Athena as well. They actually have to commit or just lose cards. You're running 4 because this deck is all about removing opponent's cards and deleting the opponent at the same time. Gaily, this is the basis for a lot of early game aggression, and later on when you delete your opponent, because it doesn't require counterblast, this is definitely a 4 of. Early on you get the draws, later on you can get on hit, bind. They have to eventually take something, so having like Gailies and Grayons, they have to take something. So you can definitely get a free bind because Soul is free. And then the grade 3s that you're only running is Grayon and Gradle. That's all you need. That's all you need. You're probably going to go Force 1 a lot with this deck. It's very, very rare you will ever go Force 2. Force 1 is just so nice because of the oppression that the Delete and the Force 1 power gives off. So go Force 1 mostly. With Grayon, don't feel bad staying on it. Although it's a counterblast 2, as long as you have a drown, it becomes counterblast 1, and then the on-hit pressure is nice. At some points in the game, when, especially the late game, you will not be able to delete your opponent, but you will just rely on the number of force markers you have to just punch through. And both players, or mostly your opponent, will have a reduced number of cards in their hand because you've been binding all his stuff and deleting his Vanguard. Don't get stuck on a Gradle. If you ride Gradle, it's not really there to finish your opponent. You notice you're not running Given anymore because we don't actually need it. We don't need Given to finish the opponent or rush them like that, because a lot of decks nowadays can gain a bit of advantage. It's not necessarily an incredible kill as compared to other people. So where this deck is all about grinding your opponent out of the game. So with Gradle, this card becomes just that crit pressure. If they're on 3, you ride this, delete. You get a bind, that is the best part of it, and you get a crit. So they have to guard this attack or risk just dying. The secondary cannot move effect actually doesn't come up that much, but it's pretty funny against Bermuda. You bind out their Caro, suddenly all their stuff in the back can't do anything. So that's another nice touch. Overall, this deck is just about when you take damage, because you definitely will take damage, you convert that into binding one of your opponent's cards or just getting advantage some way or another, which is pretty much just binding opponent's cards. Your opponent has to then commit from their hand more cards onto the field, and then they also have to save a grade 3 in their hand to to play around the delete. If they can't ride, they're basically giving you extra turns where there is 0 pressure. So overall, it does pretty decently against Bermuda because you snipe their important grade 3s, and then you also force them to ride another grade 3 at some point, because everyone's going Force 2 now for Bermuda. Their rewriting just becomes absolutely irrelevant because you cannot gain more than 1 crit from Force 2. So if you get to that point in the game, their rewriting is just wasting cards in their hand, but they also cannot fully commit to the field as well, because if they commit a full field, then you're just sniping the Sonatas, just sniping the Caros, done. Their next turn aggression suddenly becomes very low, and then there's not much they can do. They slowly run out of steam. Same thing with other Force clans. You're basically just trading blows, and then you're reducing the game state to less cards, and then that's it. That's where you gain the advantage. And then against Excel, just bind their cards, and then draw a jet shaft, and win the game. So if you face against a Protect, you're pretty dead, unfortunately. They're able to just keep on generating a lot of advantage compared to Excel and Force, and then just always have that confirmed null, so there's less pressure there for them to have to guard all your attacks. But we're banking on the fact that Protect doesn't exist anymore. So this deck, you have to have knowledge about your metagame, how many people play Protects currently. Grand Blue is coming out. How many people are going to jump on that train, or are they going to stick with Bermuda and then maybe play Dimension Police and Aqua Force? How many are getting on that train? If more people are jumping on the Excel and Force train, then this deck is pretty good. But if they're not, then maybe you should probably think about playing Deletor Messiah instead, which is a perfectly good alternative if you want to play Link Joker. So that's it with this deck. This is a deck I've had fun. We'll talk about who won in the giveaway very soon, so stick around. So So the winner of the Asaka Excel marker is Josh Duka. His comment was about his favorite accessory being a lunch tray, and we found that very memeable, but also hit quite close to home, because we've seen that happen before, especially in high school, where see kids take out lunch trays and play cards in it. So congrats, Josh Duka, for making such a meme comment. You win the gift marker. Now we actually have a few mats here that we can give away too. So we're gonna contact 2 more people. Check your mail, and you will be able to pick one of these mats. So let you guys know, and see you soon. Bye.